shifters, entrepreneurs on the move, with your host, Amanda Barr, bringing you power-packed 15-minute conversations with entrepreneurs who share their stories of shifting in life and business to keep on the move. Episode number 6, I have Deborah Watts, resilient leadership and relationship turnaround expert. She helps Mavericks build resilient teams and families by turning their weird into wow and doing it in their own unique way. Welcome to the show, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Amanda.
Yes, I'm so excited to dive into your world and learn more. What's a Maverick and how does all this weird and wow come to play? And maybe you can, before we dive into the shifts and what's happening, maybe you can share a little bit of your backstory so everybody can kind of ride that journey with you to where you are.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I spent a very large percentage of my earlier life as a minister, and I was formally trained as a structural engineer. And obviously both of those institutions had quite a bit of rules that rubbed me the wrong way. So thus, through my growth and development and just trying to find my own way to live on purpose, I ended up realizing I was a maverick, and I noticed that there wasn't a lot that was customizable, not even in the world of personal development. So what got me involved in the mentoring that I do now is I basically am that external voice of reason for Mavericks. Just like, throughout history, all of us have mentors, guides, friends, but for Mavericks, it's a little bit more challenging because we don't necessarily take advice very well. We don't listen to other people's rules or follow them very well. So sometimes it can be really challenging to mentor us. But because I am one and I have gone through all those many different struggles in many areas of life, I am able to bring a neutral third-party perspective while at the same time respecting their desire and need to navigate their own way. And because of that, that's why I started doing what I'm doing now.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Now, you said you had transitioned out of the engineering space and into this world. So tell us a little bit about that shift and as a new entrepreneur, how long have you been doing this? And maybe give a little bit on that transition.
Yeah, well, thanks. That's a great question. I actually think I was born an entrepreneur, and I just kind of long time because it was scary and there were too many unknowns. But my dad was an entrepreneur. He also was, he was a chemical engineer. And then soon after I was born, he realized that there was no such thing as job security. He saw some people around him who were senior people around him who had been with their company, pretty much their whole life. And they were laid off right before they would have started to get their pension, like within a couple years of retirement. And it really kind of hit home with him. So he started his own business. And his business was in manufacturing skincare products. But what I got from him was I just saw him. I mean, we traveled a lot, and he was able to be home at different hours, and he was able to pursue things that he wanted because he was a business owner and he wasn't working for another company. So that was kind of imprinted on early in life, but it was only after I had reached my final uncle point with my last engineering job, which was back in 2016, that I finally took the leap and never looked back into entrepreneurship and literally had no plan. I definitely was one of those, very high risk taking, entrepreneurs. And I had no plans. I had nothing. I just decided I was not going to go back to work ever again.
Wow. I love it. And what has happened since 2016? Because now you're running, your business, and you've got all these individuals that you're helping, And how did you find and shift through there to find that niche, to find that the centering home of what you're doing today?
Well, that's a great question. And it was so ironic because I had left the world of religion and I'd left the world of corporate America and I'd left all these institutions and I was going to be this free, self-employed entrepreneur and I was going to do these things. And I found myself experiencing very similar, if not almost identical frustrations as an entrepreneur as I did when I was in religion and working for someone else. And I was like, what the heck? What's going on? And so it was, it took a lot of peeling back before I really started to see that I had basically structured another for lack of a better word, regimented structure that didn't work for me. Like I recreated it because I was so used to having it in those other areas. And it took me a while to figure out that I was going to have to figure it out for myself. And that was really what made me see that truthfully, and I also looked at the people I had worked with and the people who got the best results were very independent-minded and had their own, way of thinking, and they weren't like so, what's the word I'm looking for? They weren't really trying to just like have me tell them the answer. They wanted to figure things out for themselves, and they had, they would push back, but it was with the clarity that they knew what they wanted. And so I realized that really I work best with Mavericks because most of what I tell people sounds super weird on the surface. And it's like sometimes it just requires a little bit of faith to try to do something that just sounds very counterintuitive. It seems at the first. But then, once they do it, they're like, oh, this is so much, easier and much more natural. But if you're not someone who's already used to breaking rules and doing things that are weird or out of the ordinary, that's really hard to trust and do. So that's why I realized that Mavericks were really the people that I wanted to serve and the people who would benefit the most from my work.
Awesome. Is there any, you say weird to wow, is there any examples that you could give us, or give us maybe something, a snippet of the process that you have that just gives us a little glimpse of that world? Because I'm intrigued.
Well, thank you. I think it's just really owning the things that make you you, even the things that you've been embarrassed about, when you were growing up or people teased you about or didn't understand about you. That's definitely been my own personal journey. And so that's what I kind of share. So with all of my clients, there's places where, we all have this. We all have places where we're ashamed and, embarrassed, and we don't want people to see that about us. And so a lot of what I do is I kind of magnify my own weirdness, and I kind of amplify it, and then I make fun of it, and I laugh with it and embrace it and love it. And by me doing that, it gives other people the permission to do so as well. Yeah. And so what this does is it greatly reduces the self-judgment. I wouldn't say that we ever stop judging ourselves, but at least maybe if it was at like 100%, now it's at like maybe 20 or 10%, because what happens is we start to see that the things that we think are weird, first of all, there's somewhere in the world, there's some other person who that's perfectly normal to them.
Right.
and second of all, like those very things that we were ashamed of, actually usually within them are found our greatest gifts and our greatest assets that make us unique and make our work in the world unique. So definitely not something to be ashamed of. And, there's a lot of talk about these kinds of things, but you don't see as many people actually walking the walk of actually truly embracing their idiosyncrasies and encouraging others to do the same. It's not as we would like to think it is. We all like to talk about it, but it's not as easy to see people doing it. So I really love to see my clients really start to embrace. I had one person who never went on camera. She was like, I hate cameras. being shot, video like even pictures she hated. And she came on in her like pajamas, in the living room and did a Facebook Live with me. And I was so proud of her. She didn't even realize. I was like, do you realize like how crazy this is that you weren't like so self-conscious about something? She's like, yeah, I can't believe it. She was like, I normally am, but now I'm kind of eager to be in front of the camera. Before I would never want to be. So it wasn't because she was necessarily a different person, but she had learned how to embrace her weird and turn it into wow, because she knew that her wow was going to be of positive impact to a lot of other people.
Yeah, I love that. I, definitely resonate with what you're sharing, and I think there's a lot of people, they want to try to be perfect, and, even myself, and it's like, you know what, people just want to work with you or be with you because it's you, and we can always get better, and it's embracing what we've gone through to, touch other people in our lives and connect in a way that, like you're doing, you're connecting with people and helping them through too. And one thing that kind of comes to mind is like, because you're going through this and you're taking what you've gone through and helping others, like, what have the shifts been for you now that you've been working with others and you've embraced yourself, and what is that like for you on a personal level? And I know you've got a business around it, but how has that been? How's that journey been?
Well, I love that you asked me this question today of all days, because I was just talking with some clients about this a couple hours ago, because I had just gone to an event, and it was a personal development event, and normally I would have been absolutely like crushed, depressed for this like long period of time, and I would have really not gotten much out of this event. This time around, because of all of the work that I've done with my clients and so forth, I had the guts, the courage to go up to the owner of the company, who is very well known around the world, and tell him, hey, look, this event, it's not to focus on the negative, but I really was disappointed because the impression that I got from your company and from your work, from all of the programs I've taken from you and all the videos and so forth, was very different from how I felt when I got here. And I could give him specifics as to why, and I could frame it, and I framed it in such a way that he listened. He was like, wow, this is great feedback. But even more so, like, I started to see how I could be, even though I was previously his student, he was my teacher, I could see how I could become his teacher in certain areas of leadership. And that would never have happened years ago. But because of having to practice these skills, teach them to others, embody them myself at deeper levels, I start to see now where I can add value in places that before I would never have seen, because I wouldn't have even been looking there. And it's really enriched me in being able to be courageous, be bold in taking a stance and trusting myself, like deeply trusting that even though no one else is getting it right now, or even if it looks really crazy and out there and maybe even dumb, that this is what I need to do, and I know that it's the right thing to do, even if right now it's not super clear how or why. That level of self-trust has come from this work, and I am so grateful for it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. That's, hearing those stories and really like, seeing that progression. I think that's, what people are going to go, okay, that's possible. I can go from here to there. And, that's so inspirational. And, I the time has already gone by so fast, and I feel like we've only like barely even like touched the tip of the iceberg. And I know that, I would love to, have you, maybe we can have you come back in the future. But before we close up the podcast today, I'd like to know, since you are working with Mavericks and you're working with people that are looking for this, honing of them, connecting to themselves, and what would be some advice you would give to an entrepreneur that maybe is starting out since you launched your own business and definitely thriving today, somebody to keep them on the move? And what would that advice be for somebody out there?
So, wow, that's a great question. So the first thing I would say three things. The first thing I would say is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So don't get so caught up in almost all of us do this when we first start out. You know, I've got to make this happen. I've got to turn some, get some money this week or this month, or I have to, turn this many clients, or I have to do this thing. Like, understand that you're going to run into your own sets of barriers and frustrations and disappointments, and understand that it's not about the short game, it's about the long game. The second thing I would say is, because of that, take care of yourself every day. Don't do this, staying up every night for like 2 weeks straight, trying to like create this website and all this stuff. Like, pace yourself, take care of yourself. Even if it means that you stay up late, don't stay up late every night. Stay up late one night, or, have a glass of wine, have a conversation with a friend, go to the park with your kids. Like, keep pacing yourself, because it's going to take a while to get to the desired result. And finally, connected to those two ideas, is understand that if it's not inspiring you, if you're not feeling a full body yes, your body isn't buzzing, you're not feeling super inspired and excited about it, it's not for you. It doesn't matter how many hundreds of thousands or millions of other entrepreneurs have reached success and made 8 figures overnight with that process. If it's not resonating for you, it's not for you, and that's okay, because there are things that are for you. So that is to avoid the shiny object syndrome of running after things, understanding that what's for you will feel amazing, and when it is not for you, it's just going to waste your energy and time, and the statistics really have nothing to do with it, because especially if you're a maverick, most likely whatever worked for someone else isn't going to work for you without tweaking and adjusting and refining. So you really need to trust your gut, trust your body, what it tells you.
Wow. Great advice. I love those nuggets. I'm going to have to go back and listen myself, because I just, soaking it in as you're sharing right now. And, for the audience out there, I definitely want them to be able to reach out to you. What's the best way for somebody, if they'd like to find out more about what you're doing or work with you and connect with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch? Well, that's perfect.
Either LinkedIn or Facebook are the two platforms that I use. So LinkedIn.com/in/Deborah A. Watts will get you to me. And the same thing with Facebook. So Facebook.com/Deborah.A.Watts will connect you to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. It's been such an honor, and I'm excited for you to just help people transform their life and make an impact in the world. And we're cheering you on 100%.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Thank you for having me, Amanda.
Yes, well, we're going to get out of here and keep on the move.
We hope you enjoyed the episode today. We appreciate each one of you for listening and hope you left inspired and motivated to keep on the move. If you think this episode might help or inspire someone else, please share. Don't forget to subscribe and keep in the loop to hear more incredible stories of entrepreneurs like yourself on the move. Thank you for our supporters, RTB Capital Group, Financial Powerhouse, Callcast, and Power Podcasting. Now, get out there and keep on the move.